The Bears broke their 6-game losing streak with a win over the Houston Texans this past weekend. Their offense has actually produced some points and yards over the last couple of weeks. The competition has a bit to do with it, but the Bears are also doing some things to help Mitch Trubisky out and actually get the ball into the hands of their best playmakers. We're going to get into that and more. I'm Dan Durkin. This is the All-22 Review.
After week 2, I did a video talking about the Bears developing an offensive identity. And some of the tenets of that had to do with their use of heavier personnel, making a commitment to running the football, having Mitch operating under center a bit more, and more movement throws, and all of that basically made the play action game viable. The Bears deviated from that after they benched Mitch Trubisky and went with Nick Foles. They looked different both from a formation perspective. They're in the shotgun on 68% of their offensive snaps this year. Foles was in the gun on 76% of his plays, whereas Mitch is in the gun on 57% of his plays. The play calling was different too. So the Bears have called a pass on 66% of their offensive plays this year. With Foles, they threw the ball on 71% of the snaps that he was in the game for, whereas with Mitch, they're striking a bit more of a balance, throwing the ball on 60% of their plays. The numbers clearly show that the running game was de-emphasized when Foles was in the game. I think that Matt Nagy thought that he had his quarterback and was able to run the full panel of plays in this playbook, and that just wasn't the case. The Bears don't have the offensive line to protect, and I don't know if they have the full complement of receivers to run this scheme. When you look at the production of the rushing game, it's stark compared between Trubisky and Foles. 140 yards per game when Trubisky starts and 52.7 when Foles started. And just the point production, 27.5 points per game when Mitch was in games, 14.7 offensive points per game. I took out the touchdown against the Rams and then the kickoff return by Cordero Patterson against the Vikings. But not all wins and all numbers are treated and should be treated equally. There's a big difference between these two teams from the defenses that they've faced, as these numbers show. So you look at the starts that Trubisky has made, and then the numbers next to each of these teams represent their defensive DVOA, which is a phenomenal statistic that Football Outsiders does to basically normalize and level the playing field to say in each situation, how does this team perform relative to the other teams in the same situation. So I think it's a really equal and fair measure for just in general football play, and it shows Mitch Trubisky has not played the caliber of defenses that Foles did. And so that's not what I want to do in this video, but it just needs to be called out that there's a stark difference between the two. What I want to get into here is focusing in on some of the things that the Bears have done with Mitch now under center, and can they replicate these against better defenses like the Vikings this weekend, and then if they still have something to play for, the Packers in week 17. And so in addition to those bullets that I enumerated earlier, the Bears have also simplified and prescribed the reads for Mitch. They've featured Allen Robinson over the past few weeks, rightly so. He's their best offensive player. He needs to get the ball more. They've schemed for David Montgomery early in the game to make the play action game viable. They've found their best available offensive line combination as it currently stands, particularly I think in the interior they've strengthened pretty well. And then they've started using tempo a little bit differently. I think they picked up on some things for the Rams. So let's get into the film and talk it through. Here's an example of a prescribed read for Trubisky. Two-man combination called a high-low using wide receiver Allen Robinson and David Montgomery. Trubisky's effectively going to read the flat defender here and get rid of the football. Pre-snap reads here, single high safety, corners off, looks like cover 3. Snap of the ball, 3-step drop, ball's out. Completion, easy 15 yards over the middle of the field. Doesn't have to be complicated. Get back, see that your post-snap matches your pre-snap read and get rid of the football. They ran the same exact play the week before against the Lions and got a similar result. Red zone opportunity for the Bears here, and they dial up an RPO, run pass option bubble to Darnell Mooney. So Trubisky's read here is number 3, safety Justin Reed, who's 11 yards off of Mooney. So if this is man, he's going to have to work through the trash to get to Mooney given that cushion. And if it's zone, he's going to have to get off his landmark and chase here. So again, get the ball, not the prettiest throw, doesn't matter, gets it out to the perimeter. Excellent cut block by Anthony Miller and the stock block by Allen Robinson. Easy touchdown for the Bears. simple read for Trubisky. This RPO generated the Bears' longest pass play of the game. This is called an outside zone lock RPO. The lock means they're actually going to man block J.J. Watt, the backside defensive end. But this play all comes down to the depth of the single high safety that Trubisky reads. The pre-snap motion of Darnell Mooney gives Trubisky a man indicator since the defender followed him across the formation. So Trubisky knows he has man coverage pre-snap with this free safety 17 yards off the line of scrimmage. So now he's going to trust Allen Robinson to win off the line of scrimmage, which he does with this excellent release and gets inside, breaks leverage on an easy slant route that turns into a 35-yard gain for the Bears. Allen Robinson is the Bears' best playmaker in the passing game. Against the Texans, the Bears gave Trubisky the green light to throw the ball to him when he was split out wide and he saw a single high safety, as you'll see in this clip right here. Look at the depth of the free safety. Look at the alignment of Allen Robinson. There's no chance he's going to be able to get over and cover this ground before the ball gets here. So again, a simplified read, but get the ball to your best playmaker in space and allow him to go up and get it as they do on these couple throws here. Robinson's touchdown against the Texans was a trust throw. The Texans had all types of issues with dropping to landmarks and getting the right guys into coverage, but on this play, the Bears have Robinson lined up in the slot. And so the only guy that they're really reading here is the linebacker, Adams. If he rushes, obviously this is going to work out, but if he bails into coverage as he does here, this ball needs to be thrown to a specific spot, which Trubisky does, and Robinson snags for a touchdown. Again, trusting your best player to make a play in the red zone is something the Bears should have been doing all along, but it's good to see that they're at least doing it now. Since returning from concussion protocol, Bears running back David Montgomery is showing vision, slashing ability at the second level. He's physical at the point of contact, and he's showing excellent contact balance through arm tackles, and it's produced some big plays for the Bears in the run game. They need to get him going early on, and they need to continue feeding him the ball throughout the game, because not only is he making plays with the ball, he makes the play action game viable, and he opens it up, as does Cordell Patterson. So feed him the ball early, give him volume touches throughout the game, as it really unlocks the passing game for Trubisky. The NFL is a copycat league. The Bears took a page from the Rams' red zone playbook and used huddle procedure to get this Cole Kmet touchdown. This is the 12th play of the drive. The Lions are tired. The defenders are gassed at this point, and so the Bears quickly break the huddle and run to the line of scrimmage and don't really give the Lions time to adjust. You can see some confusion and them pointing when the ball is getting ready to be snapped here, but then off of outside zone, the Bears just run a really simple little levels concept to get the ball to Cole Kmet in the boundary for a touchdown. So these, to me, are the proper ways to use tempo when you have a defense on its heels. Speed it up a little bit coming out. Don't allow them to adjust, and it can turn into points just like it did here.